23 years of COP tokenism and exclusion of indigenous peoples in climate solutions.
Hey Leute, ich bin hier auf der COP23. Heute geht es um die Rechte indigener Völker und ich treffe Kera aus Neuseeland. Die ist den weiten Weg hierher gekommen, um für die Rechte ihrer Gemeinschaft einzutreten. Deren uralte Traditionen werden nämlich durch den Klimawandel bedroht.
I am Māori from New Zealand, so my tribe is Kaitahu. We come from the South Island of New Zealand. I guess I've really come here to COP as part of a culmination of many years of involvement within the climate change movement. So the whole idea around the Pass the Mic initiative was to demonstrate both physically and conceptually that we need to be making a space for Indigenous voices. And one of those things is that we need to have representation of Indigenous peoples that is actually meaningful. You know, it's not just enough to talk about us, you actually have to be talking with us, and we need to be speaking for ourselves.
Indigenous people are calling for the recognition and active support of Indigenous peoples as leaders in climate solutions. Pass the mic.
But what makes those other people more important than your voice? That's not, the point is that that's how we feel. When you rip that tape off your mouth, that little bit of pain, we speak from the pain of our mouth because it's hard for us to say this. She talks about privilege. I'm not privileged. Got gangbangers and drug dealers back where I'm from. I'm in the ghetto of my country. It's not safe.
Our people have been working on this issue since before most of these negotiators were born. So for us, it's about saying, look, we need to take the mic, we need to have that space, and actually we can be the solution. You know, we're not just victims of climate change here. We believe that Indigenous people here really need to be respected as equals here. We're independent nations, we are autonomous, that needs to be respected fundamentally. Secondly, we also want to make sure that our traditional knowledge is respected as well, and that that's not seen as being anti-science. Again, we're also really strong on the fact that this needs to be resourced. So there needs to be support for Indigenous people to engage within these processes. And finally, that it's actually up to the UNFCCC, it's up to all of the parties here to pass the mic. We're talking about economic growth, and it's like, well, climate change is something we want to tackle, but only if it doesn't cost us too much, and only if we can still maintain our GDP, only if we can still grow economically speaking. Whereas as Indigenous peoples, we don't see that as necessarily a trade-off. We say, well, actually, our people have been living within the confines or the constraints of our natural environment, and we have been growing. We have been able to achieve amazing things. Indigenous people, we really need to have a meaningful place to engage within the UNFCCC and within these COP negotiations, because we're not represented by state governments, because we do have traditional knowledge that is really important to share and can be part of solutions, and because it's also our fundamental right.
That our demands, Indigenous peoples respected as equals, independent nations, not merely tokens.